Hello, welcome to BTN Live. Happy Friday. I'm Jack, and we have two very special guests joining me today. We have Georgie and Bailey, who are both from the Marine Discovery Centre. Welcome to BTN Live.
Thank you.
You may actually recognise Georgie from the BTN story that Justina did, who to preface, Justina is not with us here today. She is with us. She's just not here on BTN Live today. But yeah, Georgie, you were part of the story, helping to explain. I think, maybe first actually, let's talk about the Marine Discovery Centre, because that's at a school, Star of the Sea. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. I imagine most schools don't have a Marine Discovery Centre as part of their school. So how does all of that work?
Yeah, so it's the only school in Australia that has a Marine Discovery Centre sort of as a part of their school grounds. So students there are very lucky to have the resource there, the Marine Discovery Centre, but we'll have hundreds of other schools from all over SA come to visit us throughout the year as well. So we love, sharing what we can about the ocean.
Yeah, why Star of the Sea? I think I probably know the answer.
Yeah, super close to Henley Beach.
Yeah.
And lots of passionate teachers back in the day started the Marine Discovery Centre because of their connection to the coast being so close.
There you go. So it was started by teachers. And
yes.
Now, oh, cool. And so the story that we're talking about this week, and it's an ongoing story, and it's not as cool as the Marine Discovery Centre, is the algal bloom that is almost across the coast of South Australia. When exactly did it start? Do you know?
Yeah, so they first detected it back in March, I believe, so along the Fleurieu coast at Waipinga. And then it's slowly kind of moved around with the ocean currents and the wind patterns that we've had. It's moved up and now made its way up along the Metro Coast.
Yeah, so can you, at Henley Beach, it's reached Henley Beach now?
Yeah, so we are, the last probably month or so, we've started seeing a lot of things along the beach as we're doing our beach walks with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of mainly dead fish and ray and shark species. So when it first started in March, those were sort of more isolated to further down south and Kangaroo Island, but now along a lot of Adelaide's beaches and at Henley, seeing lots of different creatures washed up.
And Bailey, you also scuba dive,
Yes.
I've been told, and so you've actually seen the algal bloom from under the water, is that true?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of change to the habitats that we see under the water, and also the visibility of the water is heavily impacted by the algae being in there as well, so lots of impacts to people diving.
There you go. So we've already got a lot of questions that have come through, but if you've got anything, if any of that has prompted you to think of something, please send it through. If you have any questions about scuba diving, perhaps, I'm sure Bailey can answer as well. I just wanted to add, and I don't know if there is a question about this, but something I found really fascinating just as a part of this story is that algae isn't an animal or a plant. It's just like an organism. It just exists. I don't know if there's any more to say to that, but I just found that really fascinating. And they're also like quite important. So this, I guess, is an example of one that's having a devastating impact on the environment. But there are actually a lot of different types of algae that are important to the ecosystem. But let's dive in, and I might even just start, because we've got actually a whole heap of things on the table here to show you. So I reckon we're just going to start with Tyler from Canterbury Primary School, who says, what impact do algal blooms have on ecosystems and biodiversity?
The algal bloom that we're seeing in South Australia at the moment is what they call a harmful algal bloom, and that's mainly because the types of algae that we're seeing are actually producing toxins that affect the animals mainly through their gills. So we're seeing certain species, so mainly things like fish and sharks and types of rays, like stingrays and fiddler rays. Those sorts of animals are disappearing from the ecosystems, and obviously with any ecosystem in the ocean or in on land, the balance of everything is quite delicate. So once you start to lose some of those species, it's going to disrupt food chains. It's also going to be changing the types of animals that it can also build habitats. So things like oysters, razorfish, and sea sponges, things that are quite important for habitat building, can also get lost. So the diversity of the sea life just sort of goes from there.
Yeah, and so are these, what we've got here, are these some examples of animals who have been impacted?
Yeah, so speaking to the animals that are habitat builders, we have seen quite a few of these big razor fish or razor shells washed up on our beaches. It's not unusual to see them after a storm washed up on the beach, but it's just the sheer numbers of them, and we're seeing quite a few that, because these are big clams, we're seeing quite a few that are still together with the animal inside, which is unusual. So it hasn't been eaten by something, it's just washed up dead. And these are important as a part of oyster reefs. But we've got quite a few other of the fish species here. Yeah.
Cool. So some of our other fish species, we've got our seahorses and sea dragons. So our leafy sea dragon, which is the marine emblem for South Australia, so quite a well-known and loved species in our state. And another one related to those as well, the pipefish, we're seeing quite a few of those washing up, and our weedy sea dragon as well. So all of those seahorse.
So yeah,
relatives.
especially on around Henley Beach, Grange Beach and Tennyson, so nearby to where the centre is, we've been seeing, up to 80 of those long pipefish just in a really short little walk. Like, they're just sort of basically everywhere you're walking, you'll be seeing some of these animals washed up. So it's really sad for us to see the devastation that's happening.
And these bigger fish, are they puffer fish? What are they?
Yeah, so this one's a porcupine fish.
Okay.
So we've got a few of those now starting to wash up, as well as the pufferfish as well.
Okay.
So all different types of species of fish that we're seeing washing up. It's not isolated to one type of fish, or it's all of them being impacted.
Okay, and so can I also ask? These aren't creatures that have washed up on the beach. These are ones that you've had.
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
that
Yeah,
are-
from the Marine Discovery Centre, we've
Yes.
had for quite a long time. But yeah, if you do see anything like these washed up on the beach, especially if they have the spines, a lot of these fish that inflate themselves are poisonous.
Yes.
Some of those poisons can be in some of their internal organs, so it's in their liver and some of their other organs inside, but it can also be coming from around near their eyes, but also in their blood. So if they are suffering and washing up on the beach, if we then touch them, it could be dangerous for us. So it's always really important, if you are walking along the beach, just to see what has washed up with the algal bloom. Never to touch anything if you're feeling unsure, but especially if it's looking like one of the types of porcupine fish or toadfish and other puffer fish that wash up on the beach.
Do you know? Do people need to alert anyone if they do see something, or is it being pretty well monitored? So. Yeah.
Yep. So there is an app for citizen science called iNaturalist.
Okay.
So people are uploading photos of everything they find on the beach to that app, and there's a particular project within there for this particular event that we're seeing at the moment. So people can document what they are seeing as they're just walking along the beach, so everyone can help.
Yeah. So iNaturalist.
Yeah,
There you go.
iNaturalist.
So yeah, if you're in South Australia and you find yourself out at the beach, you can always document it that way. I'm going to go to Charlotte from Kennedy Baptist College in Perth. Hello, Charlotte. And this was a question I also had, and it was something that was sort of raised in the story as well, but can you eat the sea life that is affected by the algae?
So the current sort of advice is that you can eat anything that you're buying at the shops at the moment, because those things have undergone testing to make sure that those animals were caught healthy, live, and not affected by the algae. However, anything that's already dead, washed up on the beach, if you're out fishing and we're catching things that could be in an area with the algal bloom, it's recommended not to eat anything like that. So yeah, especially if you can see that it's already looking unwell, unfortunately we can't eat anything that's affected by the algal bloom at the moment. But if you're buying seafood from stores, those things are safe to eat.
Okay, good advice. Eloise from Ichunga Primary School, Mr. Hurd's class, tuning in as always. Do the fish eat the algal bloom?
Do you want to
Yeah, so the thing that's impacting them mostly is when it's getting stuck in their gills. So obviously
Okay.
the gills is how they're breathing. So there's a few different ways that it's impacting them. So there's toxins that do get released as well, but the main way that it's impacting them is the algae getting stuck inside of their gills.
Okay. And we've got a bit of like a demonstration.
Yeah. So, as Bailey said, they're not physically eating the algae, but the toxins from the algae enter their body through their gills. We've got some examples here. This isn't the toxic algae that I have in my little test tube. This is some spirulina powder. So as you said before, algae is
Great in
really
a smoothie.
important. Yeah, algae is really important, and we use it as health supplements as well. So it's got lots of
spirulina
nutrients.
and algae.
Spirulina is an algae,
There you
yeah.
go.
So it's a type of algae. You can put it, like you said, in your smoothies and things
Yeah.
like that. And that's what we feed to some of our filter feeding aquarium animals at the centre. So we've got some spirulina powder in here, as well as some little coffee granules, just to sort of show how the algae does get caught in the fish and other animals' gills. It's important also to remember that it's not just fish that have gills, it's also things like clams, snails, octopus. All of those animals are still breathing using gills, so that's why we are seeing quite a wide variety of things. It's just mainly those larger fish species that are starting to become affected. So this is our little fish here, breathing with the water flowing through their gills. They get capturing oxygen from the water and then letting water and carbon dioxide out, similar to how we use our lungs. However, what we're unfortunately seeing with our animals, I haven't put enough in. This fish is going to have to breathe some more water. What we're unfortunately seeing is that animals are suffering by not getting enough oxygen, either from the algae sitting inside their gills, but also the toxins then can enter their body through the gills there. So you can open it up there. Focus. You can see all the little dark parts here. That's similar to how the algae is sort of staying inside their gills. They're not flowing out as they should with the rest of the water coming back out, and they sit in there. The oxygen's also getting taken out of the water due to the algae's sort of quick life cycle. It basically will grow and then die and break down really quickly, so it's also then removing oxygen from the water at the same time. So it's sort of lots of different factors impacting the fish at the same time.
There you go. And I'll just shout out Emu Plains, I believe it's their 3-4 class, asked if the algae gets rid of toxins, which are bad, why is the algae bad in killing things? So there we go. So we sort of got a demonstration of why this algae in particular is quite bad. I'll also just say happy birthday to Mia from Emu Plains Primary. Happy birthday, Mia. Thank you for tuning in. Now, Bonnie has just sent in, are all algal blooms harmful?
Not necessarily. So
Okay.
not all algae will produce toxins, and different algae will produce different types of toxins if they are ones that cause a harmful bloom. So the species that we have that started as part of this bloom is a species that does cause those toxins, and so that's why this one is known as a harmful algal bloom. But there are situations where we have blooms and they're actually really positive for our ecosystem. So they can be the beginning of the food chain. So when we have a bloom, it can be the beginning of the food chain for the smaller fish, working up to the bigger fish up through that food chain. But this one, unfortunately, is a harmful form of the algae bloom.
There you go. I don't know if you can answer this, but a few years ago in the Torrens River, there was a lot of algae. Do you know, was that good or bad algae?
Yeah, so that was a blue-green algae.
Blue-green, yes.
Yeah. Not great for that ecosystem. So I believe that one was kind of stopping the sunlight from getting through. So that's why that one was becoming harmful, because it was coating that top layer of the water. So the plants and things underneath the water weren't getting that sunlight.
There you go. And that's, for those not in Adelaide, that is a river that runs through Adelaide a few years ago. Maisie Wills from Emmanuel Primary School says, I have a question, which is great because you've come to the right place, Maisie. Will the people who do surf lifesaving still be able to swim for their carnivals? So I guess, and also just generally, is it safe for people to be swimming?
So their recommendations at the moment is that if you do see any discoloured water or a lot of sort of light sort of green, yellow, brown foam around the water's edge, that can be an indication that the harmful algae is in the water there. So it's important to remember that just regular white foam is normal as a part of the ocean. We've got some more spirulina here. You can actually see the white foam that forms at the top of the bottle here when I shake up the spirulina. So the white foam is basically parts of the algal cells getting broken up by the waves. This is me making waves. And then the white foam is normal. However, if the foam is sort of yellow or brown, not recommended to go swimming in that water because it can give you itchy eyes, a sore throat, and other sort of symptoms similar to sort of hay fever. Those symptoms will usually pass after a couple of hours away from the beach. But in terms of the surf life-saving and swimming in summertime, unfortunately we can't say 100% if we're going to be able to swim and where this algal bloom is going to be moving. There have been some models done of how the ocean currents might be able to move around the algae coming into summer. However, the algae sort of sits almost asleep in the sediments after the conditions for the algae have sort of passed, and if the water gets warm again and we get more nutrients in the water, which is what has fueled the algal bloom, then it could come back sort of coming into summer next year. So at this stage, we have to keep testing, and we don't really know about that surf life saving in summertime.
Yes, and because do we know what's being done to try and help? There's a bit of that's sort of what the story was looking at as well, because the Premier's calling for more help. I believe some money has been invested into trying to help it, but how do we actually do either of you know what actually needs to happen to help this problem?
So they are starting some monitoring programs, so they're going out to start looking at a bit more detail under the water of what species have actually been impacted and to what degree they've all been impacted, and then potentially looking at restoration of our ecosystem within our Gulf, so our seagrass habitats and our shellfish reef habitats, because the shellfish reefs act as filters in the water. So our oysters and our razor clams filter the water. So if we've got more of those established within the Gulf, then that could potentially help for any future blooms that may pass through.
There you go. I just wanted to, there was a Sophie from Rendlesham Primary, hey Sophie, says, is the algae stuff dangerous to crayfish? Because my dad is a cray fisherman and it won't be good if a lot of them die. So I'm going to say that it is dangerous to crayfish.
Well, like crayfish are another animal that will still have gills to breathe underwater. So there's very high potential that it would affect crayfish in the same way that we're seeing all these other animals. What's also important to remember, as Bailey was saying, we need to research more into what is being affected, because it's not everything that is happening in the ocean. Not everything is washing up on the beach. It's only things that can get carried with the tides and the waves that we're seeing as we walk on the beach. However, as some divers have seen going under the water, there's a lot of life that has unfortunately, there's marine life that's died down there, but we just can't see it unless we go diving under the water to see it. So we just need to keep having a look under the water, basically, to see what's happening, because not all of it's washing up on the beach.
And you've sort of answered that, but I do want to shout out this question from Claire from Our Lady of the Visitation Catholic School. Says, hi, I'm in Year 6. My special interest is the algal bloom. I live really close to the ocean and I'm writing an information report for school. Here's my question. Can the bloom affect other animals and species that don't have gills or live in the ocean?
So we're not entirely sure at this stage how it affects other animals like marine mammals, for example, like our dolphins and whales. We have seen some dolphins that have been affected. As far as we've seen from the testing done on those, they weren't directly impacted by the algae, but they were impacted by like starvation. So it's that linking back to that ecosystem question we had earlier, that it may not directly impact species like marine mammals if they don't have gills, but it will have that flow-on effect through the rest of the ecosystem.
I was going to say also like seabirds. I wonder how probably a similar impact as well.
Yeah.
Is that the food sources are going to be running low.
Yeah, so I live near the beach as well, so I'm up near Semaphore Beach, and it's been, obviously we can't say exactly what's happening, but I've noticed way more pelicans coming really close to shore, where usually they'd be more offshore or in areas where there aren't as many people around, but they're coming quite close to the beach, around the jetty, around the breakwaters where you don't usually see them. So there's potential for, if there's low food sources where there used to be, they're moving around and trying to look for more food.
Rowan from University of Wollongong. There you go. I went to University of Wollongong. How can I find information if an algal bloom is occurring? So I don't know if you. I guess this one's been pretty widely reported on. So it's been in the news for quite a while. So usually, I guess when something like this happens, it will appear in different media outlets and people are pretty across it. I guess it's part of your jobs to be checking out what's going in the ocean. Is that true? So
or to be a lot of the work that's being done at the moment to test water is being done before the money for the monitoring come in. It's come from scientists sort of doing it in their own spare time, which is really amazing. So there are people who specialise in algal blooms or algae and seaweeds in general, so be those sorts of people testing, but you can also head to websites like Department for Environment and also SARDI and PIRSA, so that's like primary industries, and SA, aquatic researchers. Those sorts of websites will also have information if there are any other algal blooms or things like that, hopefully not in the future, but they'll give you usually detailed reports of what's happening and why, and those sorts of information. Yeah.
Can I ask, at the school and amongst yourselves, what has the response been to the algal bloom? I imagine it's quite distressing.
Yeah, so we've seen quite a bit of mixed response. We've noticed with the different students that come and visit us, because we'll always take them for a walk on Henley Beach. We warn them obviously what is happening and what we might see. A lot of the younger students are quite excited to see the animals on the beach because they've never seen them before. So it's really devastating what's happening. However, silver lining is that they're learning the names of all these amazing species that they never knew existed before. So they now sort of have a new want to care for the ocean because they are seeing more of these amazing species. But I mean, us definitely, we're pretty sad every time we walk on the beach, and some of the older students that can sort of piece together what's happening and the fact that that animal used to be living under the water in our marine ecosystems. A lot of those older students are expressing that they're feeling pretty sad and pretty distressed about it.
Yeah. Can I also ask personally why you two got into what you're doing? Is it a love of the ocean and all the animals?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in Adelaide we're pretty lucky to have just amazing coastline that's very accessible and amazing places to visit and swim or walk that are connected to our marine ecosystems that are so important for all life on Earth. So I think a lot of people in Adelaide love the ocean, which is amazing to see.
And if there are any kids watching who maybe want to be doing what you're doing, do you have any advice for them?
Just getting out there and learning about it more. So the more that you learn about it when you're younger, then you build that passion and you build that knowledge as you move through. And then there are some, maybe for older students, but there's programs like Youth Coastal Ambassadors that you can join up to, which is a really cool way to start volunteering and getting involved in local projects around the coast.
Yeah. I'm gonna Harry from Emmanuel Primary School says, could we invent a vast machine to kill the algae Wouldn't that be great? And if it could determine which algae's good and which algae's bad,
Would be good.
that would be good. If you've got any ideas, Harry, please let us know. I might grab one last question. Addison from the Rivers Secondary College in Lismore. Is it possible to prevent algal blooms, or are there any ways to make them not as destructive to the local environment?
Yeah, so the more resilient that the ecosystem is to begin with, then the less it's going to impact that ecosystem. So that comes back to that restoration we mentioned earlier. So trying to make sure that our ecosystem is as strong as it can be, kind of like our bodies, I guess. If we're strong and healthy, we're going to fight off a cold easier than if we're not super healthy to begin with. So it's making sure our ecosystems are healthy and trying to look after them as much as we can so that they can fight through something more challenging like the harmful algal bloom.
Are there any things we could be doing to help make ecosystems, like just, I guess, everyday people, to make the ocean a safer and more stronger place?
Well, I suppose just reducing any sort of stress on the environment in general is always good. So trying to use less plastic at home, making sure if you ever see rubbish on the beach, like get into doing beach cleanups with your families and your friends and things like that, because reducing any sort of stress is always going to help. And other parts of the algal bloom can be nutrients coming from the land that's sort of feeding the algae, which has allowed it to sort of go crazy in the oceans at the moment. So taking a look at what, goes down the drains at your house or outside your house and stormwater drains. So, cleaning up leaves and always picking up your dog's poo and things like that, just to make sure that it's only clean water as much as we can that's heading down our drains, because those sorts of things can impact the ocean as well. So it's also, having a look at what's around our homes that we might be able to do to keep it cleaner.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to quickly run through just some school PAWAS, I don't know what that is. Aspect, French's Forest Public School. I don't believe I've ever seen that school come through before. Are you in France? We have New Haven College, Kennedy Baptist College, Upwey, UCA, Canterbury Primary, School of Hard Knocks. I don't think that's... we have Shire, we have the Rivers Secondary, we have Hurstville, a lot of variety. Rochester, Ichanga, of course, so many questions from you guys. Thank you so much. Rendlesham as well, so many questions. And Emmanuel, so many. And Emu Plains, and University of Wollongong, adding a university to the mix. Well, Georgie and Bailey, thank you so much for joining us this week to help answer some of those questions and for bringing in all of these demonstrations. Hopefully we get some positive news soon. But thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having us.
Have an awesome weekend, everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye.